All right, welcome everyone. I have started recording the presentation. Today we're going to talk about the Design Awards competition, how to submit sustainability requirements and how to create a winning submission. Joining me today will be Daniel Lee, who's our design committee chair, Josh Otto, and Lonnie Rossman. Just want to go over a few housekeeping items. The webinar is going to be recorded and made available on the AIA Philadelphia website. Please make sure your video is off. You should have entered muted and without your video. It just kind of helps us keep the background noise to a minimum. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation. If you think of questions later, you're welcome to email me. My email address is up on the screen and it will appear throughout the presentation. All right, so we're going to get started with the registration and submission process. The mission of the Design Awards competition is to recognize significant achievements and promote public appreciation of quality architectural design by member firms of AIA Philadelphia. There's different ways to participate in the competition through projects that are either built or unbuilt, and we'll get into a category breakdown shortly, as well as design detail projects. The celebration, the awards will be presented on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. Information about how the awards will happen this year will be forthcoming, so stay tuned for that. For eligibility, we have these 4 eligibility requirements worked into the submission form this year. You will have to physically check them off in your submission form in order to be considered. Your firm must be a Philadelphia member firm in good standing. The work has to have been designed in the Philadelphia member office. The submission has to have been authorized by a principal or partner, and your firm must have substantial design authorship of the project. For the submission information, all entries are going to be submitted online as they have for the last several years. It's going to be a 2-step process. The first part is going to be the registration form, which is basic contact information. Along with the payment, you'll be able to use a shopping cart feature to select as many projects as you'd like and check out and pay all at once. The second part will be emailed to you. It will be a link to the actual submission form where you'll create your uploads and enter information about the project. During that process, you will also be asked to, sorry, I'm just letting a few folks in, include a URL link to for your 10 high-res photos, their project team information page, the sustainability requirements, and then all entries are going to be due by 11:59 on August 28th. It's the Friday right before Labor Day. This is going to be your landing page for all things Design Awards. It's on the AIA Philadelphia website. This is what the screenshot looks like. This is where you'll need to go if you need important deadlines and dates, information about competitions and all the categories, templates to download for your submissions, as well as the registration form access, the button to get you into the registration form, as well as a list of frequently asked questions. Last year, the board of AIA Philadelphia and the design committee added additional categories. Here are all the categories for 2020. In the built categories section, there are small projects, which is under 500,000, interiors, historic preservation and adaptive reuse, general built, as well as sustainability, which all built and unbuilt projects will automatically be considered for this recognition, excluding design detail. So for unbuilt, you have planning and general unbuilt, as well as sustainability. Both the built and the unbuilt submissions are going to be 12 pages of content plus the cover sheet. We'll get to the cover sheet shortly. For the design detail, it's limited to 2 pages plus the cover sheet. And again, I'll share those examples with you shortly. Here are just some quick submission examples. If you want to submit your project for both general built and interior architecture, you have to submit twice. You're gonna fill out a separate form for each one. When you go to fill out the initial form, you'll select 2 built projects. It'll add the $195 to your cart, and then you'll pay with the shopping cart feature. So we'll have some examples listed on the FAQ board as well. Here is a breakdown of the entry fees for this year. For the built and the unbuilt, the project submissions are $195. For the Divine Detail, they are $50. Due to COVID-19, we are offering a 50% discount on registration fees to any firm experiencing hardship who still wants to participate. If your firm wants to make use of the discount code, all you have to do is, just send me an email, and there is no proof of hardship required. I'll send you a discount code and you can use that for your checkout. So for the registration process this year, we are using a new platform called Fontiva. It's built on top of our Salesforce platform, which manages all of our membership and sponsorship data. The submission link, as I mentioned, can be found on the Design Awards program page. You'll log in, you'll create a username. The submission landing page will present you with the different submission category breakdowns, the built, the unbuilt, Divine Detail, as well as the exhibition only, which is $100. We will be doing a virtual exhibition this year. So if you are interested in submitting just a project to that, there's information that will be available online about that too. After you select the number of projects that you want to enter, you click register now to begin your submissions. So here's just a quick snapshot of what the registration process looks like. You'll see from the drop-down menu there, it says quantity. You can select as many projects as you like. And then your shopping cart will take effect from there. If you select 2 built projects, it'll be $195 times 2, unbuilt projects, Divine Detail, and so on and so forth. Because we are using a new registration system this year, everyone needs to register as a guest, and then you'll be prompted to create a password. This is the same system that we'll be using for event registrations moving forward. This is kind of our guinea pig event, if you will. Once you've selected your categories, as many as you would like to include, you're logged in the system. You click continue once this screen pops up. It does have a timer, but it's set to the maximum time and it shouldn't time out on you. It shouldn't be a problem. A small pop-up window will appear. This is just an example. It's going to be very basic contact information first, last name, company name, and project title. You'll need to you'll need to complete one of these for each of your categories that you've selected. Click continue when you're ready to proceed. Here's just a quick snapshot of what the payment, the checkout and payment process looks like. Once you've entered all your billing information, you click process payment. Once your payment has processed, you will then receive the email prompting you to complete the appropriate submission forms. If you don't get that confirmation email, please email me. This is what the new form for the submission process looks like. It has information about the sustainability requirements at the top. And then below it is an accordion style form that you need to complete. It's going to have all the same information that it has in the past. It will be, the link again will be emailed to you after you submit your payment. For built and unbuilt projects, you will need to include the PDF, which is going to be viewed by the jury, no larger than 10 megabytes. Your project title category, your cover sheet. Submissions are limited to 12 pages plus that cover sheet. You'll have a project description, project images, and remember that this competition is anonymous, so please don't make any reference to your firm, architects, or affiliated contractors. For Divine Detail, it's an opportunity to focus on exceptional built details. There'll be some examples shortly I'll go through. The detail may be submitted without the full project. As I said, it's limited to 2 pages, no visible firm identification, project names, anything like that. Please keep it anonymous for Divine Detail as well. Here are just some quick exterior detail examples that have been used in previous submissions. And here is a submission example, just limited to the 2 pages. Regarding the cover sheet for all PDF submissions, we are using this form now, which includes a breakdown of all the new categories. This will be attached to both built and unbuilt submissions as well as submissions. So when you go to the Design Awards program page on the AI Philadelphia website, you'll want to download all of the templates that you'll need for your upload section, which includes the Sustainability Recognition Spreadsheet, which are for built and unbuilt projects, excluding Divine Detail, the project team information page, which is just a PDF of all of your project team contact information. So we can notify them if and when you've won an award. The presentation slide, which is a PowerPoint, which gets used the night of the Design Awards, regardless of whether or not your project has been selected for an award. Your final PDF submission, which is reviewed by the jury, make sure your name does not appear anywhere in the submission. And then the final upload will be the URL link that includes 10 high-res photos. Make sure to include the name of your photographer. This year, we will be requiring the URL link as opposed to 10 individual JPEG uploads. So a link to Dropbox or Box.com or something like that would be appropriate. Here are just some photo examples. Again, Dropbox, Box.com, some type of URL where we can download the photos later. Please make sure to name the photos the name of your project so that we can easily identify them once we're downloading them. Here are all the awards categories for built projects, unbuilt projects, and built details. In the built projects, you can be awarded a gold medal, honor, merit, and sustainability recognition. For unbuilt projects, the silver medal, honor awards, merit awards, and sustainability recognition. And the built details, we only give awards for Divine Detail. There's no subcategories for that. If you are interested in submitting from a previous year, please go ahead. We definitely encourage that as long as you meet the current completion date criteria, which is listed on the form. It has to be within the last 5 years. And you can resubmit as long as you already didn't win an award in the same category. This year's jury is going to be from Boston. Due to COVID, we will be holding the jury in a virtual format, likely on Zoom. Here are the names of the jurors for this year: Andrea Lears, Eric Howler, Elizabeth Whitaker, and Andrea Love. All right, and with that, I'm going to pass the mic over to Daniel Lee, who's going to talk briefly about the sustainability guidelines. Daniel, just let me know when you want me to switch to the next slide.
Sure, thanks, Julie. So new this year is a spreadsheet that we are asking every submission to fill out. And if you can go to the next slide, Julie, this is adopting many of the goals and milestones or achievements that the National AIA is also requesting for design submissions. It's broken out into 10 measures, varying from water, energy, and other topics like wellness, change, discovery. So I won't go into the details of this spreadsheet, but just to give you an overview, once you download the spreadsheet, please submit the actual spreadsheet once you fill it out, and not a separate format like PDF. We do request, again, the Excel file. And this is just a screenshot of one section of the spreadsheet, but you can see there's at the top is a kind of a bar graph. So once you start plugging in your information, whether it's a yes, no pull down menu or some square footage numbers or energy usage or water savings, this graph on the top here will start to automatically populate and give you kind of a quick idea of how your design or building is performing against these measures. Next slide. So the spreadsheet is fairly self-explanatory. We will have a kind of a virtual office hours. If you can go to the next slide, Julie. On the 15th, hosted by our friends at the Committee on the Environment. And if you have by then been able to download the spreadsheet and try to fill it out, if you have any questions, you can bring those questions to this 15th seminar.
Great, thank you, Daniel. So I'm going to turn it over to Lonnie and Josh now, who are going to talk about project narratives.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. Yeah. So I'm Josh, and Lonnie will chime in as necessary. So looking at putting together these 12 slides to get your message across, you kind of want to do a project narrative. And sorry, it's a little hard to predict slides in the Zoom for what's coming up, so I may go back and forth a little bit. But essentially what you want to do is create a story within these 12 slides that tells the jury quickly what your project's about, what's important about the project, what's special about the project, what's unique about the project, and how you achieved what you did. So you can do a couple different ways. You know, adding narrative in the beginning is great. You want to give the jury enough information to understand what they're looking at and what they will be looking at in the next few pages. Here are a couple examples of how narratives are woven in with the images. You can see that there are some studies and some concepts on the one on the left. There was a kind of a mood image, one on the right. That just graphically for two examples, that's a kind of a decent amount of text for a slide. And then one of the better ideas in more successful submissions of the past are snippets of font and or text, snippets of text that articulate and highlight images and information on the slides as you go along. So you go to the next slide. So obviously photography is a huge benefit to a good photography is a huge benefit to explaining your project. You want to have a variety where you have large kind of context shots for things, details, mood. You might have people in them, you might not. So definitely, you know, anything special that you need to show in a project, you'll want to get a great photo of it. If you can't, explain it in diagrams and things. So context photos, sometimes they're ground level, sometimes they're aerial that show a bigger context, but going along with diagrams and kind of explorations, early studies, all kinds of examples right here, hand-drawn diagrams, computer. Next, you get the next one. And then site graphics. So depending on the type of project, this may or may not be more important. You see a couple examples here of how buildings fit into a larger campus plan. This may, you know, if you have a small project or a tiny interior or something like that, you can adapt those accordingly. And then, so depending on what you're trying to explain here, you may have the need for graphic examples of how the program was put together, how the program breaks up, how different parts of the building relate to one another, relate to the site. Again, it's up to you to tell your best story and kind of weave these into the narrative, especially if it's a built project. You may want to explain how you got to certain design solutions. And then plans. We've had, over the last 10, 15 years that I've been looking at these, there are some people that have, some firms that have put together kind of less effective presentations where they use more than one or two slides to show plans. And you know, what you want to focus on are key plans that very well describe what your intent was and what you needed to do. And these should not, typically should not be kind of working drawings, CD drawings, but they should be a presentation drawing that pulls the key parts of your project out, explains them very quickly. Another thing that is helpful on a lot of projects is a project scale, a graphic project scale, as you see on the bottom right of the right image. So again, this goes with the studies and typologies, kind of any graphics and imagery that explains process and design process that got you to the final solution. And then things like structural, if there's something that's important in your project that you want to feature, you did something unique, you did something very interesting. You know, structure is something, and mechanical systems, things like that that typically get hidden and cannot be seen in photographs, certainly rely on graphics and renderings, drawings that show that. Same thing here. If you have material systems, wall sections, anything that you did that's special that you can add to the jury's understanding is great. And then I think the next few slides go through some different ideas of materials. You have scale on the things, process examples, you know, especially if you're doing restoration, and we'll get to before and after, but how you put things together. If you have a historic building that you're working with, or something that you transformed, you really want to be able to show before and after. Yeah, here's two great examples, large and small scale, but you know, dig deep. I don't know if you know, not everybody has great before pictures. I don't think that's necessarily a requirement to have quality, because you just want to show that contrast and what you did. And then to go hand in hand with the newer sustainability requirements for the submissions, you may have things that, again, do unique sustainable strategies. You know, we're kind of well past the point of rainwater collection, and hot air and cold air traveling through the building. So it's more on keyed situations where you could easily see this as a single slide in a presentation, where you have all of the interesting sustainable attributes pulled out and kind of keyed into a graphic on the right with the systems. And then here's one example from a past submission that you know, interesting material sources. This is kind of the before and after on a micro level. And then, you know, think about how you, and this is where a photographer can work with you, especially accomplished architectural photographer, really talking about finding views and perspectives that show the space, show how the space is used, show scale, show light, color, and anything. And I think I see in the participant list at least one of the good photographers here. So then putting it together, you don't want to create pages that overwhelm with information. In the past, we've had presentations where the juries met and convened in the same room, so the information had to flow very quickly. With online, the jury is going to be looking at these remotely on their desktop, so there's going to be a little bit more time and leeway now for you to add information that the jurors can sit there and really get into the granular detail that you put. But you don't want to overwhelm it. You need a nice balance of text and graphics to kind of keep the story flowing. And then with Unbuilt, great renderings, always helpful. Systems, you're kind of at a disadvantage because you don't have completed photographs, but you're at an advantage because you have all of these other tools and kind of process things that you've come up with through the design. Now, one of the things is that's really good with the Unbuilt is to understand that process and show that process, but also maybe different strategies that you've tried to kind of put forth this story, because it's more about telling story and kind of a preview of the project, whereas the built work and all of those subcategories are really recapping and kind of just telling what happened. And then it's always good to start and end with compelling imagery and great photographs. It's kind of the money shot at the end. In the beginning, it's typically good to have a great photograph that really piques the interest of the jurors, and you kind of go through and tell them the background, and then build and build with images, and then this is kind of the crescendo here. This is pretty straightforward. Any project you have that's compelling, there should be a way to fit that into a submission and category here. I think this year we have more formal recognition of categories that's going to open this up to wider submissions and a greater audience, and like a small project that may have gotten lost with giant, large-scale university higher ed projects in the past, now can slot into different scales, different types, and they'll be judged against each other. There you go.
All right, I'll take over again.
Julie, do you mind if I just add two things?
Sure, of course.
Very, very short. Number one is, I think, just to reiterate with what Josh said, just understand the format how the projects are going to be viewed this year. Again, it used to be on a screen on a wall, and now it's going to be on computer screens. So just make sure that your text is legible, number one. And number two, it was more of a question for Julie, just a confirmation that this presentation and prior Design Award winners
in different categories,
accessible to the membership to view outside of this conversation?
Yes, absolutely. All of that content will live on the Design Awards program page. We are getting ready to publish that site live shortly, hopefully by the end of the week. And then the submission site will be live next week. We just have a few more things to work out, make sure everything's seamless for you. With that being said, August 28th is the deadline for Design Awards and exhibition submissions. The portal will close at midnight. Again, mark your calendars for Thursday, December 3rd. We'll be doing our Design Awards celebration. Details about how that's going to be offered this year will be coming soon once we have a little bit more information. Sponsorship opportunities are available now. I always have to put that little plug in there. And then if anybody has any questions, always just shoot me an email. If anybody has any questions now for the group, you are welcome to either unmute yourself or type in the chat box. All right, we have a quick question. Yes, the July 15th presentation is not the open office hours, just to clarify for the sustainability stuff. The July 15th will be a separate presentation, much like this one, which is going to go over the details of how to complete the sustainability spreadsheet. There will be office hours held later in the summer, maybe late August, right before the submissions are due, if you have any specific questions about sustainability requirements. And all of that information will also be available on the website. If there are no other questions at this time, we will wrap it up for today. The presentation will be made available on the Design Awards program page, and that should be live soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.